Hey guys, Pokeversity here, and I'm going to be doing a new segment called The Science of the Pokemon Games. Now, I am a biomedical scientist at university, and the more that I look into these games, the more science I find, and I really feel like this would be a good way to give you guys some information on some biology and some science, and at the same time, teach you about where some of the stuff in the Pokemon games comes from, and this is the area that I'm really going to be focusing on today, and I really want to talk about right now is evolution. So, even if you aren't a supporter of evolution theory, you've probably heard about it. There's this excellent guy called Charles Darwin. He came up with this theory which we now, within the scientific community, take to be the truth. And what he basically said is animals that are the strongest survive and pass on their strong traits to their offspring. Now, Pokemon's genetics, as you can well see, does not really take this aspect. Pokemon change throughout their life cycle. They adapt and gain new characteristics as their life goes on. Now, this is reminiscent of two types of thing. There's one evolution theory and one thing that happens in the real world. The evolution theory is a lot less likely to be the basis, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So, the evolution theory comes from a guy called Lamarck. Now, he was a evolutionist before Charles Darwin existed, so he's a bit of an evolution hipster. And what he said was that animals obtain the characteristics that they need to survive during their lifetime. So, for example, if you had an adult giraffe that was quite short, it would grow and it couldn't reach the leaves at the top of the tree. That is, it would grow its neck so that it could reach those leaves at the top of the tree. Now, we know that this isn't true. Darwinian evolution states that the short giraffes would die off, so the long neck giraffes would survive and pass on the long neck genes to their offspring. However, in the base of Pokemon, it seems more likely that it adapts some aspects from Lamarckism. So, for example, a Squirtle going to a Blastoise is getting stronger and more powerful and more likely to be able to obtain food because it's got less competition, because it's got these big water cannons and powerful arms and jaws and things like that. So that's one viewpoint, but really, when you look closely at Pokemon, it looks more like they're aging than evolving. It doesn't look like they're adapting necessarily traits. It looks like they're going from an infantile stage to an adult stage. And this is a lot more reminiscent of a real-world thing that happens within insects called metamorphosis. Now, even in the Pokemon games, we can see perfect examples of metamorphosis. You have Caterpie going to Metapod, going to Butterfree. Metamorphosis is the process of a larval stage going into a chrysalis and then going into its adult stage. In Caterpie's case, Butterfree, which is a butterfly. Caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly, metamorphosis. This is much more the kind of life cycle that we're seeing here. Again, this mainly only really happens within insects, but you do see similar things in amphibians. You see frogs going from tadpoles and then adapting characteristics throughout stages of their life. You know, they grow legs, they grow arms, and then they turn into a frog just because they do. This is resemblant of metamorphosis. I mean, this isn't really surprising. We know for a fact that Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of the Pokemon games, he spent a long time in his youth collecting and cataloguing insects. I believe he also liked to go and look at amphibians, so this whole concept of evolution probably stems from this kind of an interest of Satoshi in the insects and amphibian populace. So, basically, what I've summarised here is what the real-world inspirations for where Pokemon evolution might come from. I think it's a really interesting area. I think there's a whole ton of science behind these Pokemon games. Anything that deals with biological ecosystems, anything that deals with any type of science is possible for me to analyse, and these games are great. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, please leave me some feedback. I really want to know if this is good and this is the kind of stuff that you guys want to see, because this is something that I really, really feel passionately about. This has been my life for a really long time, so talking about this is really cool, and it's a really cool way for me to convey to you guys what I'm thinking and sort of science within these games, and teach you guys a bit of science, because science is awesome. No matter what your teachers say, science is awesome. You wouldn't have so many things that you have today without science, and I don't just mean computers and stuff. I mean all of the basis for media comes from science. All of your superheroes, they come from science. It might be science fiction, but science fiction has roots in science. There are great bits of science out there. I really want to carry on with this, and I think I'm going to, irrespective of what people think, because this is a really, really good segment, and I'm really, really enjoying looking into these kind of things. So once again, guys, if you enjoyed this, subscribe, because I will be posting more. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do for the next one. If any of you have any suggestions, please comment them. I would be thrilled to look into any suggestions that you guys have. But I think that pretty much does it for today. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Once again, I've been Pokeversity, and stay tuned for more. See you guys next time.